All right, let's talk about cheese. Today, we are diving deep into the hidden world inside every single wheel. It's a world of, believe it or not, controlled decay, microscopic farmers, and an 8,000-year-old accident that completely changed the way we eat. So, before cheese becomes this incredibly complex food that we all know and love, it starts out as something, well, really, really simple. As affiner Josh Windsor puts it, you've just got salty, sour dairy protein and fat. That's it. Doesn't sound too gourmet, does it? And that's the big question, right? How in the world does a simple bucket of milk transform into the hundreds of different cheeses we have today? From a sharp cheddar to a creamy brie. It's an amazing story of art, science, and a whole lot of history. Well, a huge piece of that puzzle is the art of aging. It's a process called affinage. And this is where cheese really develops its soul, not on some factory line, but deep inside a carefully controlled cheese cave. Affinage literally means to refine. And this is not just letting cheese sit on a shelf and, hoping for the best. No, it's a super carefully managed process where experts, called affiners, are literally guiding the cheese, helping it develop all those unique flavors and textures that make it so special. I love this. Affinier Josh Windsor has the perfect name for his job, a mold farmer. His entire craft is built around cultivating the microscopic life. We're talking molds, yeasts, and bacteria that grow on and inside the cheese. They're the ones that transform that simple, salty curd into something truly complex and delicious. The environment where a cheese ages makes a world of difference. On one hand, you've got simple affinage, where the cheese is just sealed up in plastic. Sure, it's consistent, but the flavor just can't get that complex. But on the other hand, complex affinage in a cave lets the cheese breathe, it lets it interact with all the microbes in the air, and develop a natural rind with these incredible deep flavors. And believe me, this is not a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. To be a successful mold farmer, you have to be incredibly precise. Famous cheese caves like the ones at Murray's in New York, they have different rooms, each with its own unique climate, all tailored to grow the perfect microbes for specific styles of cheese. So just how specific are we talking? Well, get this, we're talking about temperatures locked in at around 50 degrees Fahrenheit with humidity over 90%. That super high humidity is key. It keeps the cheese from drying out and cracking. And the cool temperature? That slows down the bad bacteria, which lets all those complex flavors develop over months, not just days. One affineur even joked their requirements are more demanding than Mariah Carey's dressing room. Okay, so we've seen the finishing touches, the magic that happens in the aging cave. But let's rewind a bit. Let's go back to the very beginning and look at the basic steps of how cheese is actually made. And we're going to use a classic, cheddar, as our guide. Now, this might look like a lot of steps, but the main goal of these first few, from adding cultures and rennet to cutting, cooking, and dreening, is really just to carefully separate the milk solids, which are the curds, from the liquid, the whey. But it's that next step that really makes cheddar, well, cheddar. That's right, that unique fourth step, cheddaring, is so important it gives the cheese its name. So why do it? Well, the simple act of stacking and flipping these warm slabs of curds creates pressure, which helps develop lactic acid. That acid changes the protein's structure, and it makes the curds stretch and knit together into that dense, layered texture that we all recognize as cheddar. It's a physical step, and it's absolutely critical. So now you have a handle on the modern process, but let's take a trip back in time. Way, way back. Because the story of cheese doesn't start in some fancy facility. It starts with a complete and total accident. The story goes that about 10,000 years ago, nomads in Mesopotamia were storing fresh milk in pouches they'd made from animal stomachs. Now, these stomachs naturally contain an enzyme called rennet. So you combine the rennet with the heat of the day and the constant jostling from travel, and voila! The milk proteins started to clump together, separating into solid curds and liquid whey. And this wasn't just some neat new snack. No, for people back then, this was a revolution. Think about it. In a world with no refrigerators, cheese was a total game changer. It preserved all the nutrients in milk, it was easy to carry around, it was packed with nutrition, and this is a big one. The fermentation process made it way easier for many people to digest. And if you're thinking, that's a great story, but is it true? Well, we've actually got the receipts. archaeologists have found milk fat residue on 7,500-year-old pottery shards that have holes in them. And the thinking is these were ancient cheese strainers, used to separate the solid curds from the liquid whey, pretty much exactly like a cheesemaker does today. So, from that happy accidents, the craft of cheesemaking started to get, well, refined. Over centuries, different cultures came up with key innovations that shaped cheese into the art form it is today. You can really see the evolution here. The ancient Romans got really sophisticated with aging. Then, in the Middle Ages, European monks basically became the masters, giving us classics like Brie and Swiss. But the whole game changed in the 1860s when Louis Pasteur's work on microbes turned cheesemaking from an art into a science. And that eventually led to the invention of processed cheese in the 20th century, which made it a staple in homes everywhere. And that brings us right up to today, where the world of cheese is this fascinating, amazing blend of ancient traditions and cutting-edge science. So what does all this mean? It means that every single time you eat a piece of cheese, you're actually connecting with this incredible journey of human ingenuity that goes back thousands of years. It's a direct link to an ancient survival food, something perfected by generations of artisans and now fully understood by modern science. And this really shows the beautiful balance we have in the cheese world today. On one side, you have artisans focusing on terroir, that unique flavor of a specific place, using methods passed down for generations. And on the other, you have industrial production, using technology to make sure cheese is safe, consistent, and affordable for millions. And you know what? Both are absolutely vital. The story of cheese is so far from over. As we look to a future with big challenges like climate change and shifting diets, you can be sure that this ancient food is going to evolve yet again. So it leaves us with one final question. What will the next chapter be in this 10,000-year-old story? It's something to think about the next time you enjoy a simple slice of cheese.